Hi everyone, today we have a different kind of video. This is aimed for new players. I thought this might be fitting with the start of the new arena season, and I have a couple of friends who are interested in the game as well, but have no clue about the rules yet. So this will be an overview rules video. I won't explain everything in detail, but it should be enough so people can follow what I'm doing during my videos. So what's Ark Nova about? In Ark Nova, you are building a zoo. You gain victory points by making your zoo more appealing for visitors and also helping conservation efforts. For this, players are doing actions one by one until the game ends, and actions are like building enclosures, playing animals in your zoo, or doing association work. You want to gain victory points, and there are two different sources of victory points. One you get by making your zoo more appealing. This is shown here by the ticket track, and one is the conservation effort, and this is shown by the green track. So you have two tracks that move to each other, and the game ends once these two tracks cross, or these two markers cross. But you can keep in mind, for Board Game Arena, this just means that you reach 100 victory points. This means the game will end in this round. So the heart of the game are the actions. And you see them down here. There are 5 different actions you can choose from. You also see a level above them, 1, 2, 3, up to 5. And this means the strength of the action you're doing. During the game, you can upgrade them. This is shown by the purple side you see here. What are the different actions? Let's start by 2 of them. Let's go with build first. So depending on the strengths, you can build enclosures up to the strengths of your action. So this is action strength 3, so you can build enclosures up to level 3. There's also a level 4 and 5 size enclosure, and also a small and a large aquarium if you play with the expansion. You build enclosures by paying money for them. You start the game with 25 money and gain money from different sources, mainly from the appeal track. When you look at the appeal track, you see how much money you will gain in the income phase. We come to the income phase a bit later. So here I can build up to size 3, and the size times 2 gives me the amount of money I have to pay. So if I build a 1 size enclosure, I have to pay 2 money for it. Let's build a 1 size enclosure around here. Doesn't matter for now. This is one of the actions you can take. The second action you can take, and what's important with the action cards, every time you use them, the action you used will go to the bottom, and all the actions below it will increase in strength. So the second action I want to talk about is the cards action. With cards, you can draw cards from the deck or snap. What does it mean? We have for once here the deck of cards remaining, and then we have the display. And snapping means you grab a card specifically from the display. When we look at the cards action, you see, depending on the strength, you can either draw a certain amount and discard. So on level 3, we can draw 2 cards and have to discard 1. On level 4, we can draw 2 cards, for example. And on level 5, we can decide if we either want to draw 3 cards and discard 1, or snap a card from the display. Since we now do it at strength 3, I will draw 2 cards from the deck and have to discard 1 of my cards afterwards. So we get 2 new cards, and now we can discard 1. Doesn't have to be 1 just drawn. I can discard any of my cards. This is the second action. Before we cover, now we can cover the association action as well. With the association action, you interact with the association board you see here. And here you see the same symbol as for the strength of the action. So depending on the level of your action, you can do certain tasks or the ones below. Since it is on strength 4, we can either take a uni, which gives us symbols in our zoo, or let us move on the reputation track, which I cover also a bit later, or increases our hand limit, because you start with the hand limit of 3, which you have to fulfill during the after a break happens, and you can increase it to 5. Then we have the partner zoos. These give you continent symbols in your zoo, which you want for certain things we'll talk about a bit later. And they will give you a discount on animals. For example, if I take the American partner zoo now, which I can since this is level 4, my American animals will cost 3 less. The last thing you can do is take 2 rep for now. So let's, in this example, you mainly take unis and partner zoos and support conservation projects, which you can do on level 5, and we cover conservation projects a bit later. So let's do the action on level 4 and take the American partner zoo here. Now you see our animals got cheaper. But before you understand that, we cover how the cards look. So let's look at the anatomy of a card. When we look at animal cards, you see different areas. You see on the bottom, on the top left, the enclosure size you need. So this animal needs a 1 size enclosure, which we already built. Then you see the cost below. The animal costs 8. And the animal also gives us symbols. This is a raccoon, and he gives us a predator icon, a bear icon, and an America icon. Below the name, you also see some kind of effect these cards have. All the cards have different effects, and this is one beauty as well of the game. There are so many different cards, and all have, not all of them, but a lot of them have cool effects that you want to use at the right time. For example, this will boost association. That means afterwards we can decide if we want to put our association card, which is now at level 1 since we used it, want to move it to 1 or 5. And the last thing on an animal card is what it gives you. This will give you 4 appeal. On the bottom right you see the appeal track. And if I play it, what we can do now, the animal cards is, depending on the strength of the action, you can play either 0, 1, or 2 animals. Since it's on level 4, we can play 1 animal, and we play the raccoon. We get our 4 appeal. Now we moved 4 here. And also we can now choose if we want to have association on 1 or on 5. In this case, let's just pass on it or move it on to 1, just so you see now it moved down to 1. When we look at different animals, like this tiger, for example, they can have some requirements. For example, when you look at the enclosure on top, it needs a 4 size enclosure, but it needs a 4 size enclosure connected to water, and in this case, 2 water spots. So if we build, for example, a 2 size enclosure up here, later during the game, we can play the tiger in there. But the tiger has more requirements. You see below the money, there are 2 sign symbols, so we need to get into our zoo sign symbols some way. For example, if we take a uni, for example, the uni with 2 signs would give us 2 sign symbol as a requirement, but they can also be on cards. For example, the Science Museum also has a sign symbol if we play it in our zoo. Then they don't need to have an effect, but they can give you different sources of victory points or stuff to move on different tracks. So for example, this will give you 8 tickets, also 2 conservation points, and 1 reputation point. I will talk about reputation a bit later, as I said before. Yeah, that's mainly what animals give you, and as I said, they have so many different effects. We won't go over all of them, but you will discover them the more you play or watch the game. So after we talked about the animals action, the last remaining action is the sponsors action. And here you can play sponsors. We have one sponsor in hand. Sponsors are the blue cards. And sponsors look similar to animals, a bit at least. They can have symbols on the top right. For example, this has an Australia symbol. They require a certain amount of strength. In this case, it needs a sponsor's action of strength 5. And they can give you an immediate effect or give you some utility during the game. In this case, this one gives you 1 appeal for each Australia symbol we have. For now, we have none, but once we use it, once we played it, we have 1, so we will get 1 appeal. And it has an ongoing effect, which you see on the top or written on the right in blue. For each Australia icon you play into your zoo, you may place 1 card from your hand under this card to gain 2 appeal. So let's play it. So you see how this, for example, works. We can use the expert in Australia. And we get 1 ticket because we have 1 Australia symbol now in our zoo. And we can now pouch a card to get 2 more appeal. Let's, for example, pouch the small monkey. This will increase our appeal count even more. So now you know how to use these different actions. One thing we didn't mention from the cards, there are the green cards. These are conservation projects, and there are 3 base ones that gets chosen at the beginning of the game, but you can find different kind of projects in the deck. In general, projects require you to have a certain amount of symbols or fulfill some kind of condition. For example, here you need a certain amount of Africa symbols, 2, 4, or 5, to get 2, 3, or 5 conservation points. This is the same for Asia, and here you need predator symbols. How do you support these projects? This is also on the association board. Instead of grabbing a partner zoo or a uni, you can use your association action at strength 5 to support a project. And if I had a second predator icon, I could use my worker. I only have 1, so every time you use the association action, you need to have a worker. So you need to get more workers or get this one back. So I can use it at strength 5, support it, and get the amount of conservation points. What's also important with this project, every time you support a project, you can use 1 of these bonuses. So you cover the field you choose with 1 of these cubes. And the first 3 are bonuses you get immediately and as an income. And the bottom 4 ones are a bonus you get immediately, but only once. And what's also important with the conservation projects, you can support each project only once. So the base ones are in general the 5 different continent projects, the 5 different species project, and then there's a project which requires you to have different continents and one that requires you to have different species. And in the deck you find different ones, some with science symbols, some with rock icons, some with water. So if I play the Taika, I will get water icons, and I can use it for the aquatic projects, for example. And then there's also ones that make you require the corresponding partner zoo. For example, there's a predator breeding program. This is also some green project which requires you to have a predator and the corresponding partner zoo, in this case America, and then I can support it. And another kind of project is release projects, to release animals in the wild. So here I can release a European animal, and depending on the size of the animal, I get a certain amount of of conservation points. So far to the different actions, and during the game you can upgrade them for certain, if you fulfill certain requirements. And in general, you get an upgrade every time you see the symbol for your second partner zoo, for your second uni, for reaching 5 on the reputation track, or reaching level 2 or 2 points on the conservation track. And the upgraded actions are in general quite similar, but doing things better. For example, with the normal build, you can build one enclosure or one thing. With build upgraded, you can combine, for example, build strength 5 lets you build a 3 size and a 2 size instead of just one building with the normal action. And you get access to new buildings, but I won't cover them in this video. For example, with cards, you can snap earlier, since snapping starts now already at 3. And you can draw a bit more cards and have fewer to discard. With animals, you can play more animals sooner, and you also get a bonus if you use animal at strength 5, since you see this small doctor's PhD head, which means the rep track. Association lets you do multiple tasks as well instead of one if you have the required amounts of workers. So if it's on strength 5, you can take a partner zoo with one worker and take 2 rep with the other worker, which would be in combination strength 5. And what's also new with the association, you can make donations that you see here. You can spend a certain amount of money to get additional conservation points. And then we have sponsors. With cards, I come to that later. Then we have sponsors, and sponsors increases your strength, and some sponsors require that it is upgraded. So a few things that I want to cover now, also with the upgraded cards. For drawing cards, you can now, instead of just drawing from the deck, draw in reputation range. And the same is for animals. Instead of playing animals from your hand, you can play animals from reputation range. With association, you can support conservation projects from reputation range. And the same for sponsors, you can play sponsors from your hand or within reputation range. What does it mean? Every time you see this symbol, you gain reputation. For example, you would get it from the tiger. These 2 unis will give you this reputation, or taking 2 rep here. Some projects will give you it, and so on. And every time you move forward, you see a certain amount of cards will be in your range. At the beginning, only the first card. Once you reach level 2 or 3, then these 2 will be in range, and so on and so on. Right. What else do I want to talk about? There are certain bonuses you get for reaching certain points on the tracks. For example, on the conservation track, you get 1 bonus here, where you can either upgrade a card or choose a new worker. Then on 5 conservation and 8 conservation, and these bonuses here will be random every game, and some are better than others. For example, often uni and partner zoo on this track are very good, and you want to rush there. The same here on the reputation track. Once you reach certain levels, you get the reward that is written below. Here you upgrade a card, here you get the new worker, and some of them are self-explaining, some are you will discover during your Ark Nova journey. What's also important with the action cards, there is a break. Since I'm showing here the solo mode, you can't see it, but here will be a break counter. A break counter. Every time the break counter reaches 9, there will be a break happen, and it starts at 0. And how is the break counter moved? Every time a player does a card action, the break moves 2. There's written break 2, so the break marker moves 2 steps. One other thing you can do with the sponsors card is you can break instead of playing a sponsor. This is written on the bottom. You break X. X is the strength of the card, so at the moment it would be 1. You gain this amount of money, and if it's upgraded, you get twice the amount of money. And the break marker moves this amount of steps. So if I break 1, the break marker would move 1, and I gain 1 more money. What happens when a break occurs? Then there's the income phase, and you have to go through a certain amount of steps, like determining the hand size limit. The display moves a bit, so the first 2 cards get removed and filled with new cards from the deck, and then you get your income. In the solo mode, it triggers a bit differently, but we can go through it nonetheless here. And now the income phase happens in this case. See, the first 2 cards will removed. I have only 2 cards, so the hand size limit is okay. And I gained income, in this case 11 money. And why did I gain 11 money? You see on the appeal track with the 7 appeal we got so far, we reached this level, and here is determined how much money we get. If we had something unlocked here, we would get this as well, and some sponsors can have certain incomes like giving you money or conservation points or letting you draw cards and stuff. So one last thing I want to cover during this video. When you build, you need, at the beginning of the game, you can start somewhere on the edges, and from then on you need to be connected to your previous building. And when you build, you see these spots on the map, and these give you bonuses when you cover them. For example, if I will build whatever 2-size enclosure here, then I cover this, so I can let's build a 5-size so we can have 2 in common. This one lets you draw from the deck or reputation range, and this one lets you clever down a card, an action card. So we can decide if we want to draw from reputation range. Since my reputation is at 1, I only can draw this card, or I draw from deck and I get a new card. And the second thing is, after I finish this action, this clever reward, how it's called, will let me move another card to position number 1. Then we have something like this. This means you can play a sponsor for money, and the amount of money from your hand, and the amount of money you have to pay is this required strength for this sponsor card. For example, if I want to play this with this wanted to play this with this action, it would cost 5 money. And then you can collect rep on the track. This is a ×2 token. If you put it on one of your actions, and you can do, the next time you use this action, do it twice. And then we have these X tokens, and X tokens are there to increase the strength of your action card. If I have an X token, for example, I can get an X token if I just move 1 card to that 1, but this is my whole action. Then I can use an X token to increase my actions. For example, now I have sponsors and fee at 4. I can use an X token to make it 5 and play a sponsor of strength 5 if I had one, or break 5 instead of 4 if I want to. Yeah. Then there are a lot of different maps, and the maps have different abilities. This one, for example, if you're connected to the harbor, you can start selling cards from your hand, but also these different maps, maybe I cover them in a future video, but you will discover them while you watch me or while you play the game yourself, and at some point you will know everything by heart, what all the cards do and what all the maps do and stuff like that. What's also important, and then this video is covered everything I wanted to go through, I think. In Marine Worlds, which is the expansion and the mode that is currently played in Arena, at the beginning of your game, you choose action cards that have a special ability. You draft them with your opponent, and they make most of them better, especially the sponsors ones are very strong, for example, to get more money or something, or the animals make you pay less for the first animal you play or something like this. So you get two of at the beginning of the game, and then you work with them through the game. They are unique, so both players will have different actions at the beginning of the game, but that's what you often see me doing as the first thing when I start a new game. I will have to choose my actions on the top. So I think I wrapped up this video here. I hope I covered everything you need to know to be familiar enough with the game. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and see you next time. Bye bye.